We are here, and it is right now. It is the UFC 313 Fight IQ podcast presented by RotoWire, here to break down every single bout on this 12-fight card, including the main event. It is the light heavyweight title bout between Alex Pereira, the champion, and the boring but efficient and winning Magomed Ankalaev. We've already had some heated discussions off mic. Drake's got his nerds there, which I'm sure we all do approve of, and we are ready to go. And beside me, ready to break down these fights, is the affirmation Drake Burden. I'll wait till his mouth is no longer full, but Drake, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Chris, man. I'm excited for this card.
Yeah, it is a good card. I didn't even mention the co-main event, which is guaranteed violence. Is Justin Gaethje, Rafael Fiziev, a couple years out, almost exactly a couple years, I think, a little short of a month from their last fight, which was an absolute banger. But before we talk about anything, we need to introduce our third man today. Joe could not be with us, but we do have Joey. So we've added a letter, and we may have improved there a little bit. Friend of the show, Joey T, of course. Joey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you inviting me.
Of course. Yeah, getting ready to break down these fights, and we do know that it's exciting. UFC, these Apex cards and these other cards don't really have much for quality, so we're definitely glad to have that. So we are going to break down all of these fights, but before we do that, I just want to let you know that if you want to try RotoWire free for 10 days, you go to RotoWire, www.rotowire.com/free. That's rotowire.com/free, 10-day free trial for all of our paid content. Baseball season's heating up. Basketball season is winding down, but still a lot to do there. Lots of other sports. Soccer's picking up. Whatever you're into, we got it covered. So, again, rotowire.com/free, 10-day free trial, no credit card required. But right now, we are just going to go ahead and jump right in to the card. And we love the first fight. It is Jordan Santos at 8,700, taking on Ozzy Diaz at 7,500. Line on this fight is Jordan at minus 187, Osman Diaz plus 160, and this, I would rather this be kind of up on the card a little bit more, but just not much more, but just not the curtain jerker. I don't care about this fight. Ozzy Diaz got murked in his UFC debut. Jordan Santos is sort of an athletic striker, but oddly not much of a finisher at this weight class, which is kind of surprising me. He does seem to have some crisp striking. He's athletic, and Ozzy kind of just stands right in front of his opponent, so he could finish Ozzy here. Don't like any of what I saw from him on the regional scene. Not much of a wrestler, grappler. Again, just kind of tries to, bulldoze his way through, and I don't even think it's going to fly with the opponents he has at this level. It certainly didn't in his UFC debut. So I'm taking Santos. I can't take Ozzy Diaz. Heavyweight, low level, anything can happen, etc. But I think you have to go with the favorite here. And we will start with the guest of honor. Joey, how you see the first fight here?
If you're touching this fight, it is purely GPP because you're two extremely low-level middleweights. Diaz fought 205 his last fight. He decided to cut down to 85 for this matchup. Santos, he came off the Contender Series. He was a 3-1 dog. The kid Will Curry just showed up and couldn't do anything. I give him credit. He does throw a lot of volume, but it just seems like he doesn't have the pure punching power. If you're looking for a dart type of dog, Diaz can win by knockout, but he's a slow starter. He's losing the fight until he's not. Santos, I think there's way better options for Santos, but if you expect he gets a finish within the first 2 rounds, low-level type of matchup, he could be worth it if he gets a finish, knockdown, some extra volume. I'm currently fading this fight because I think the fight actually does go over.
Yeah, I do too. I do prize picks projections over at the fight as well, and I actually picked over on both the significant strike projections because I feel like this one does go a little longer, and Ozzy, again, you see that he gets starched, and maybe the knee jerk is to say that this one ends quickly too. I tend not to think so, so I'm kind of in line with Joey there, but we will see how Drake feels. Maybe he has a stronger take on the first fight of the night here.
Negative.
Okay.
It's funny. I can. So in my article, I basically said the same thing. I said we start the night off with a fight I'm not excited about, and then what Joey said. My very last line is it's purely a GPP fight only. So
Yeah,
that kind of rattles it off right there. But I don't trust either one of these guys. Santos is 27 and he already looks 40. It's not a fight that I'm really high on, and I would not be surprised if Diaz won this fight, especially given that he's got a reach advantage. I did take Santos to win, but it's a toss up to me. I don't even know how he's that big of a favorite.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those fights where you kind of wonder. It all seems to be based on the fact that Ozzy got sparked, and which is not really, I think, very instructive here, considering the opposition. But we shall see, and it is sort of a tepid favorite pick from everybody on that one. This one is a little more interesting just because of the salaries, I suppose. It is John Castaneda at 8,200 taking on Chris Gutierrez at 8,000. Line on this fight, it is Castaneda. Well, it depends on where you look. I'm seeing minus 110s across the board. I'm seeing minus 120s for Gutierrez. Generally, Gutierrez is a small favorite, but there are sites where you can get a minus 110 pick 'em. And for that reason, and for the salary of Castaneda, I kind of like him in this fight. For DFS purposes, because he doesn't have to do a whole lot. He's already a high volume boxer who can wrestle a little bit. And if he gets you, 86 to 90, that's pretty good at his salary. I think he can take that home. Chris Gutierrez, a guy we never like for DFS. DFS poison, just sort of, even when he's the free square, he manages to put up 58 to 60 in a decision, and he's not even worth it as the big favorite. Just sort of a stationary kickboxer who needs like an incredibly aggressive, wild opponent for him to look good. And Castaneda is a smart boxer with heavy hands. And again, the wrestling thing. I know that Gutierrez is a good takedown defender, but if he tries, I think that he'll get at least a couple of them, and that should be enough to put us over the line. And just a high volume of strikes as well. And the decision, I would say at least the cash play for Castaneda, maybe a little bit of upside for the GPPs, and that's why I'm going with him here. But we will start with Drake first. Drake, how do you see the second one?
Well, I don't think that Castaneda is really worth a damn. He also wins by stalking his opponents, and you can't really stalk Gutierrez. He's just going to get his legs, his ribs, his head knocked off with, it's going to be kick after kick. Castaneda's not going to be able to get in there. This is another fight where I think that the odds should be flipped. Gutierrez should have started as the favorite, and I can't believe that he's the dog on DraftKings, at least salary-wise. But at the same time, he really does not score well in DFS, win or not. So, I mean, he'll need a finish within the first 2 rounds. I don't think he gets it, but I do think he wins.
Well, the only thing I'd say about the leg kicks is I think Castaneda is going to push into him, which does traditionally stymie some of those leg kicks, but we will see about that. Joey, saw you nodding in agreement quite a bit. How do you see this fighter?
So I know this is a brand new matchup as a whole. It was supposed to be Magomed versus Gutierrez, and I know they swapped fights. Castaneda was getting for an easier fight versus Seletsky Dos Anjos. Not Dos Anjos, it was De Silva. He was supposed to fight him in the last card, weight miss, but now I got this fight. If you're doing GPP, I'd say if you hope for an upside, it's probably Castaneda, but you better hope he gets takedowns, control time. He's more the DFS play, but I got Gutierrez. To me, this is probably one of the more step-down guys for him coming up. Matsumoto would have been more of a challenge because it would have been kickboxer versus kickboxing. And Castaneda, he just gets his lead leg lit up. He gets hit with 5 significant strikes a minute. And most of those significant strikes are going to come from leg kicks, body kicks, primarily just trying to slow him down the first two levels of the body. And Gutierrez probably more is a better bet pick, but DFS, nah. Like as Drake said, if he doesn't get a finish within 2 rounds, no matter what his price is, he's almost not even worth the play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Castaneda will push into him, so maybe, but we certainly disagree on the pick, but we can all agree, we can come together in knowing that Gutierrez is DFS poison, and I think that is a good note to move on to our next fight, which is Marion Santos at 9,200 taking on Francis Marshall at 7,000. Line on this fight is Santos at minus 276, Francis Marshall plus 236. And I don't know. I don't really like this fight for DFS either. I think Francis Marshall is really kind of a counter fighter. In the Ultimate Fighter finale, he got a wrestler who was just barreling, trying to catch his legs and sort of ran into hard shots. I don't think Francis Marshall's really going to do that, and I think Francis Marshall probably has a better chin in any case. So in that sense, there is a chance that Francis Marshall just outworks him here, but I like the athleticism of Santos too, and sort of the better striking overall. More targets to hit, more varied ways to strike. So I'm going to give this to Santos. I certainly can't pay 9,200 for him because I don't think he gets a finish. So I guess if it's favored or pass, that means it's pass or pass. But I do think that there is a chance that Marshall can just outwork him, but I don't really see it here. I don't really see him getting past the kicks and the range and all of that good stuff and the distance he keeps. So I'm taking Santos here, but again, not really one of the more thrilling fights. And we'll start with Joey again. Joey, how you seeing this one?
One thing I will say, this is more of a dog or pass, my opinion. I'm actually picking Francis Marshall. I got a bet on him plus 240.
That's fun.
And if you go, there's 2 fights that I was not impressed with Santos. One was Dan Argueta. Dan Argueta just muscled him, and he's mainly muscle takedowns. Marshall actually has takedowns. He wrestled in college. He trained at Pellegrino MMA in New Jersey. Now he trains in American Top Team. So he's getting the looks in American Top Team with Dawson, Gamrot, Imovev. He's getting all the good looks of wrestling. And he has sneaky BJJ. But yeah, the Dan Argueta fight, he got pretty much out-muscled, controlled. And then his first fight on Tough against Cooper. He went to a split decision where Cooper didn't throw no punches, but just changed style wrestling, grabbed him the hips, ankle picked him, took him down. I think when it comes to good wrestlers, he's going to have issues. Could he knock out Marshall if he comes forward over aggressive? That's always a chance and possibility. But I think if anything, you're hoping he gets a knockout within the first 2 rounds also for GPP type of play. But to me, it's dog or pass because I think Marshall, if he does get the wrestling going with takedowns and control, he can definitely make optimal in a win.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I don't hate Marshall for those reasons. It's just I can't really see it when push comes to shove, but I do think he is worth a play for the reasons you mentioned. But what about you, Drake? How do you see this fight?
I am definitely more on the Santos side. Joey brought up the where Marshall trains at, and I'm not sure if he remembers where Santos trains at, but he's at Extreme Couture with guys like Manel Kopp and Strickland and all those guys, Cody Stamen, whatever. I'm not super impressed by his resume. I don't think that he's going to be some stud fighter, but I also think that Francis Marshall is just garbage. So I'm going Santos just for that reason.
Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense too. I do think there is some merit in the dog, but again, not really. I don't think a favorite fight on this card, and we go to depending on your opinion of this one, how quickly it finishes could be, but we have Carlos Leal at 9,600 taking on Alex Morono at 6,600. Line on this fight. Leal minus 800. And then Morono at a plus 550. And I do expect Leal to win, but Morono's been pretty hard to hurt. I don't know. He's got the one stoppage loss against Ponzinibbio, which came late, and he's got the other one where he got sparked out by Chaos Williams. Outside of that, he's been pretty hard to hurt. And he's got that awkward striking style. He's got those awkward kind of flurries. Leal is powerful, but can kind of fall into that mode of being one strike at a time. And for that reason, I'm kind of just passing on this too. I think that Moreno can do enough to keep himself safe-ish, and I wouldn't be surprised if this one goes a little longer. So I'm picking Leal just because, Moreno is just a plotter by comparison and kind of just is just kind of stuck in the mud. And again, those sort of blitzing strikes, which doesn't help if you're not really athletic. So I'm picking Leal, but again, it's kind of just like wake me up when the DFS starts, because I'm not really feeling this one for DFS either. But the pick is Leal, and this time we will start with Drake. Drake, how do you see this fight?
Before I go into that, did you see my message?
I did, yeah, and I'm looking for it. Drake is telling me that the chat is disabled, which I was not even aware that I could do. So if that's the case, I apologize. I am looking for ways of how to turn that back on if it is the case. But in the meantime, let's let Drake do his pick, and then I will look for that. So go ahead.
So yeah, I am also on Leal, but at 9,600, that's going to be a super hard pass for me. I also think that this fight goes to a decision. I don't think that there's a finish in this fight. And I also think that Morono is going to be handed his walking papers either this fight or his next fight, which I'm looking forward to because I'm tired of watching him plod around and do nothing.
Okay, I think I figured that out, and I do agree, Jake. Is the chat working now? Because I had the thing that they make you click where it says, "Is it made for kids?" I accidentally clicked yes, so that may have been the issue.
Chat's working.
Are we all good? Okay. I'm sorry about that, everybody. If you have things to post in the chat, I hope you guys all didn't run away. I really do apologize for that. First time I've ever made that mistake. They make you click that button, and I clicked the wrong one, so I do apologize. But we will in this not safe for kids version, I assume, of the MMA Fight IQ podcast. We will go to Joey for this fight. Joey, how do you see it?
If Leal's going to have any chance in this fight, he's got to get it done within probably the first round. Because I think he's going to have the blitz Morono. He's going to have to maybe get a knockdown. Shit, he might even need the bonus if he's going to pay off.
Yeah.
Because he has his, he's a blitzer anyway. Sometimes he just throws a throw. I'll give Morono credit. He is a good counter striker. He might try to eat up the lead leg with some kicks, some decent combos. But yeah, ever since he left his main camp, he's been doing majority of scans with himself and like one other person. You can see his overall fight products has been going and just going down, down, and down. And as Drake said, if it's not after this one, it could be after the next one. I think he's done. Because to me, he's not even going to his bread and butter, which is his black belt in jiu-jitsu. If you told me he was going for takedowns, hey, sign me up. I'll write his name down as a potential dog, but he doesn't go towards it. I don't see Leal going for takedowns without a finish. There's no chance in hell he pays off 96.
Yeah. Kind of the line to me is kind of strange. Not that I don't expect Leal to win, but I kind of see this being a little bit of a back and forth kickboxing match.
Well, especially when, not to interrupt you, but especially when it comes to fights like these where it potentially could go to decision. How many fights have we seen in the last year where the judges have just completely gotten it wrong?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it seems to be happening more and more. So, yeah, for that reason, especially, you can't risk it. But again, I think this is our second or third tepid favorite pick all around. Hopefully, things improve, and I do see that they will, because we have a little bit of a banger coming up. It is Armin Petrosian at 8,600, taking on Bruno Ferreira at 7,600. Line on this fight: Petrosian minus 135, Ferreira at plus 115. And I know that one of you has a very strong take on this fight, and we won't say who
Both
yet.
of us
As
have a
for
very strong
me,
take on this fight.
what's that?
Both of us.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, I was trying to sort of camouflage a
Nope.
little bit, and I did think that one was maybe stronger, but okay, we'll get to it now that they've blown the surprise. But anyway, I think that this is just going to be a banger, no matter who wins it. I guess I guess I'm going with Ferreira as well. It's a little closer for me than it is for these two guys, only because just staying in Ferreira's face and making him fight. I feel like he's gonna get him tired maybe a little bit quicker. He did get into the third round of that last fight that he was in, the one he lost by submission. Don't expect a submission here, but I do think being able to extend Ferreira could have some consequences. We saw that Petrosian was knocked out by Shara in the last fight with that windshield wiper back elbow. That's kind of, I don't want to say it's a fluky knockout, but it was something he didn't see coming. Otherwise, I think he has a pretty good chin. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens when these guys swing in the pocket. I'll pick Ferreira just because I think the power difference is going to be a little bit too much, but I do think that this is going to be, I think it's an appropriately lined fight, and I think it's going to be interesting. But there are two men over here that maybe don't think that, and we'll start with Drake for this one. Drake, who's going to win and why?
Well, if you tune into my articles, this is my bet of the week. It is Bruno Ferreira. And there is a number of reasons that I am all about him. Not only did Petrosian just get knocked out nastily just 5 months ago. There's nothing dangerous about Petrosian's game. He's just a middling striker who, he's good at not getting hit. I'll give him that. He's got good striking defense. There's no doubt about it. But the hardest hitting guy he's faced is probably Christian Leroy Duncan. And Ferreira's power is probably twice as much as his. I mean, Bruno's kind of just a freak when it comes to that. I do worry about his cardio. It's always going to be a worry with him. Could he tire him out? Absolutely. But Ferreira has made it, he's kind of just stamped his name on every fight with a win, with a lot of first round knockouts. So I kind of see it going back down that path. Petrosian's going to be in trouble early if he allows him in the pocket.
I agree, and that's good. That's a good perspective for DFS too, because he is the underdog here. So 7,600 first round finish. I mean, you're looking at for sure the optimal line.
I fully expect. I know that even Tapology has Ferreira at like 75%. He's going to be so owned on DraftKings.
Yeah,
you'd almost be better to play contrarian and go Petrosian.
Right. Yeah. No. And that is a good. But I don't have much to quibble with your analysis, except maybe to say that I think he might be a little better than a middling striker. But we will see how it plays out. Joey, I feel like you want to back up Drake here, but let's hear what you have to say.
Oh, Drake can tell you, I've been on the Bruno Ferreira before he even got into the UFC. I told Drake he was going to knock out RoboCop, and that bet definitely gave me a nice mini vacation. But no, so powerful striker versus the guy who's pretty much looking to dance backwards and counter. But I got a sneaky prediction. He went a tad longer with a boost, so his cardio definitely got tested in that fight. If I'm Bruno, go back to your judo. I'm telling you, I think you can get Petrosian down with ease. He has no takedown defense. He has a loss by submission. And not a lot of people know this, but Bruno Ferreira is a black belt in BJJ. So if he wants to maybe make it easier, maybe rock him, try to go for I think submission's live. That's all I'm going to say. If it's a wild sprinkle, it's 8-1. So I may sprinkle 8-1. I think he can really get the takedown and really work towards like a rear naked choke, maybe a ground and pound that opens up for a sub. So yeah, Bruno, he's gonna get back into the win column.
Yeah, no, I definitely I respected it. The only thing that would bother me about the wrestling is, and I think did you say previously that he was been working wrestling for this camp as
Yeah, he was
well?
training going back to his BJJ because he's a black belt in judo.
Yeah. But the only thing there is, I mean, he is muscled up. He doesn't really wrestle in fights, and we've seen if guys have to use those energy systems for longer periods that they don't normally, it sometimes gasses them out. But it definitely is a path, and we will see how that goes. But 7,600 on that price is a little too good to pass up. And here, I think, is another really intriguing fight. It is Joshua Van at 8,800 taking on Ray Saruya at 7,400. The line on this one is Van at minus 170, Saruya at plus 145. And I feel like the pitchforks are going to be out for me again on this one, potentially, because I'm taking the stab at Saruya here at the that nice price for DK. There's a couple things I like about Saruya. The grappling, of course. Even though we know Van has good takedown defense, even though he has been taken down in fights by committed wrestlers. So the grappling, of course, but also I like the fact that Saruya is on his toes in the pocket. I like that he bounces around. Joshua Van is a guy who likes to come at you and really just get in your face and really just sort of give you no other option but to deal with his offense. I think Saruya can have a little bit more success starting in and out of the pocket. I think that's going to be interesting. I think you might see a little bit more striking from Saruya than we're used to in this one, just because I think that stick and move can be a little bit advantageous here. Joshua Van is a guy that I like, but I feel like that style is not going to play on its way up. Like I have to, every time there's a Joshua Van fight, I have to work this in. I was on Charles Johnson via knockout plus 1,000. I just didn't like. I just don't guys who just stand there like that, and it's like, okay, you hit me, I hit you, and then we're gonna see how it comes. It comes out in the wash. That's dangerous at higher levels, and we're getting to higher levels now. He got hurt by Edgar Chairez in that, he got staggered in that fight. I mean, it was kind of a weird thing where he got hit with a spinning back fist, but it just goes to show this sort of recklessness that goes along with that style that I just don't like. If Chairez wins, he's going to put up big scores every time. That's just the nature of how he fights. It's exciting, and I think in the right matchups, it could pay off really well. And this could be one of the right matchups. And of course, and these two guys are going to tell you why they think that it is. But I just don't like it for this particular matchup, and I'm going to go case by case basis. Have both sides, of course, but I am going Ray Saruya, and we will start with Joey T. Joey, how do you see the matchup?
So I'll give a brief little summary. As I got Drake onto Bruno, Drake 100% got me to be on a Josh Van train. I think I did pick Johnson that fight, but I kind of, like I said, he got lucky and he got that third round. So kudos to me on that one. But look, ever since Van's first couple fights, his takedown defense is outrageously improved. None against this kid, Rhea. I know he took the fight for short notice, so he's definitely going to have to try to get his overall wrestling grappling going early. And as you said, you think the fight could stand up him throwing more strikes? He better, because if he just thinks that he's just going to go in there and try to chain takedowns, yeah, that's not going to work, because he's going to eat probably 5-6 shots coming in before he even gets to the leg. Yeah, I got Van. It could be maybe a round 2, round 3 knockout if the takedowns are sloppy. But I'm more leaning, possibly goes to the scorecard and him probably winning like a 29-28, maybe wins 2 rounds. But yeah, I think Van's going to throw volume as hell in this fight.
Yeah, and look, it's you got to give it to him. I mean, just the last two, 165 against Durden, 118 that fight against Chairez. He has a 156 in that debut against Kevin Borjas. Or I'm sorry, that wasn't his debut. The second fight, 120 against Jumagulov, which was the debut. So the volume is coming, and it always makes him a good play. Just not quite for me on this one. But Drake, why is he for you in this one?
Oh, man. This is my DFS lock of the week, and I have not missed. So sorry for you, buddy.
Well, we'll just see how that turns out.
Saruya, can you name a good fight that he's had?
Can I? I mean, I don't know.
He hasn't fought
like
anybody.
fight.
I mean, he beat Carlos Hernandez, who isn't UFC caliber. Every other one of his fights is all those, middling fights, and whatever that promotion's called. It starts with a P, Pancrase or whatever. And then deep before that. He hasn't fought anybody. And now they're going to throw him to Joshua Van. Good night. Joshua Van is going to light him up. If this lasts 3 rounds, I could see Van having 130, 140 strikes. If it doesn't, I mean, Joshua Van is my lock of the week. I just think he completely annihilates this kid.
All right, fair enough. It certainly could happen, and to your point, and I think guys even from the Pancrase promotion, we've seen them with O's get thrown in and sort of look not ready. So that's a good point, and I certainly take that. But got to go with the initial read. Gonna stay with Saruya. It's gonna make it spicy and gonna make me ignore your DMs if he does win on fight night. But we will see how it does play out. But right now we are going to move to the next fight, which is it is Curtis Blades at 9,100 taking on Rizvan Kuniev at 7,100. Line on this fight is Blades minus 335, Kuniev plus 275, and ordinarily I would say that I hate these big lines in heavyweight fights, but for this one, I'm going to make an exception. Kuniev he was unimpressive before I learned that he had popped for anabolic steroids in 2023. Even if you watch his Contender Series fights and even the fight in PFL that was eventually overturned, this guy is a Dagestani, but he struggles for takedowns in a way that I would not expect. Just bad form, keeping his back straight on the fence. And when he's in range, his hands are down. So I don't know how this is going to play against Blades. Like, Blades can fall in love with his hands, but he's got enough power that if he does hit you, he's going to knock you out. So that wouldn't even be a problem if it does happen. But Blades is probably just going to take him down, tire him out, and really just get an easy finish here. Like we covered a 9,000 fighter who we weren't sure about. This one is just a mortal lock, I think. Like, I would be really, it's heavyweight and the bigger boys, but I would be really surprised if Blades chucks this one away. We saw how he can stay in a fight and come back and get the finish, even when he was getting beat by the Brazilian whose name escapes me. Almeida, right? And so he's tough. I mean, he has been chinned, but I don't think Kuniev is the guy to do it. So Blades all day in this spot, and I don't think I'm going to get too much disagreement here, but let's see. Drake, how you see this fight?
Zero disagreement from me. I love Blades for this. I love him in DFS. He's already locked into my line with Van. Kuniev, I mean, there's always that chance for a knockout. It's an unfortunate thing, but I would really love for Blades just to get back to bread and butter, get him down and just get the elbows. Please, for the love of freaking God, just take him down and use your elbows, get the fight over with, and get back into that form.
Yeah, no, enough said. This should be a walkover. I think we'll toss it over to Joey to make it official here.
So the only person that actually knows this is Drake. Curtis Blades is one of my favorite fighters.
No.
And, he was one of the reasons why I split my first big GPP. That nice little leg kick versus Aspinall. So that also helps. It did help my pockets during the time. And but one thing I saw was wild. Do you guys know when's the last time he got a takedown?
Who, Blades? Yeah.
It's a successful takedown. It's since 2021.
Yeah.
I was like, no freaking way. I saw it. I was like, wow. But look, if he wants to make this look bread, butter, easy to, and he even came out in an interview talk about you guys are really going to see what I do against guys who are not ranked. So I'm hoping, I'm like, Curtis, I know you're walking out to Mortal Kombat. Fatality him, finish him, take him down. As my boy Drake says, he has some of the nastiest elbows when he uses them, aka Overeem. Ugh. But hey, at first I didn't know how I was going to play this fight. Earlier throughout the week, I was like, maybe the fight goes a distance for a little bit. Maybe Blaze will just try to use his outside strikes and just keep him at range, which is that a chance? Maybe. That's an potential outcome. Uses range for a decision. But Blaze sounds pissed off. I know he lost to Aspinall, but I think he's going to try to get back on track and get on a new win streak going. So 9,100, I'm going to try to get him in more of my lines because I hope he does go to wrestling. If he goes to wrestling, he's going to score, what you think, 110, 120, especially with ground and pound even higher?
He could easily do that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because when you I hadn't heard that he said that about guys that are unranked, but when you said it, it made me think of his fight with Justin Willis, where he just sort of grabbed him and manhandled him, and then kind of talked some smack on the mic to boot. Go home and work on your wrestling. So maybe he does that here. It would certainly benefit all of us if he does. But like I said, I think he has a chance of knocking Kuniev out too. So we will definitely see how that one plays. Either way, I do think it's going to be good for Blades. And if you're anything like me, you are sad about this next fight. It is Mauricio Rufy at 9,400, taking on now King Green at 6,800. Line on this fight is appropriately wide for those numbers. It is minus 500 Rufy, plus 375 Bobby Green, and this fight just reminds me way too much of the Drew Dober fight, where a guy is going to come and throw hammers at Bobby and back him up, and Bobby's going to try to do his slick shoulder roll, and it's going to work, it's going to work, it's going to work until it's not going to work. And when it doesn't work, it's only going to take one. I love Bobby Green. I have for a long time. I've cashed a lot of dog tickets on him when others were counting him out. The knockout against Grant Dawson was particularly nice, but this just does not strike me. I would like to be wrong on this one because I like Bobby Green, but this does not strike me as a good matchup for him. Just for the reasons that I mentioned, I think Rufy is going to be a whirlwind here, and it's going to result in a knockout loss for King Green. But we will see how the boys feel. Joey, how do you see this fight?
Drake, who's one of our favorite fight teams?
My favorite. That I got you on. The Fighting Nerds.
The Fighting Nerds.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm on Rufy here. Obviously, me and Drake, we don't really go against the final big four of the Fighting Nerds. Except I did. No, I didn't. So I won't go that way. But me and Drake did have a conversation earlier during the week. Why do we feel this fight could last a little bit longer? He couldn't get James Longtop out, which that's a bit concerning because Longtop's a punching dummy, ideally. But Green likes to be in these type of fights where someone's just going to try to bounce in and try to throw power. Green could have success in volume early because Ruffy does start slow. So maybe an over. I don't know. I think you get over 1.5. Could be a decent play here. But I do think at some point, maybe round 2, early round 3, he might get Bobby Green out of there. If he throws some more volume with the knockout, it'll be close for his price tag at 94. But I think he's safe. I think he's going to win the fight, if you want to pull it that way.
Yeah, I do too. And I do think I think as Bobby Green gets older, it's getting tougher to trust that those shoulder rolls, that they're going to be there every time. And at this point, guy doesn't know any other way to fight. He's been fighting that way forever. Certainly isn't going to change now. And I don't pretend. I would like to see a good fight between these two, but I actually think will probably end a little bit earlier. But maybe wrong about that. Maybe Green does have some early success. Drake, how do you see this fight?
So this fight almost made me go against the Fighting Nerds, and in the end I couldn't do it because that team is just so freaking good. What concerned me the most was Rufy's experience, and especially going against a guy like Green who can pile on volume and fast. Look at the fight against Jim Miller where he just put him in his place and it was disgusting.
Yeah.
But the problem with facing a guy like Rufy is if you watch his striking, it's just so nasty. It's pinpoint. It's in your face every time. He's got so much freaking power. I mean, he was outstruck by Yantop by 30 strikes or so in that last fight. And the damage was in his favor by a long shot. So there's no doubting that the guy is just a huge prospect. And I fully believe that he wins this fight. But as far as DFS goes, I don't like him because I don't think that he gets it done in the first 2 rounds. And I actually prefer Green as the DFS play.
Wow, no, that's interesting. That's interesting. I guess I'm just sort of having flashbacks to all those times where, like, I think he kind of lulls you in because you think he's okay, and then it turns out he's not so okay. But it'll be interesting. Green is a high volume prospect, but the upshot of that is that he has to win a decision to pay because
he's only like 1 injury away from being Ella Aquinta. So
yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And
you talking about Bobby Green?
Yeah. A lot of stuff. I think I know that our friend Joe really likes the narratives. I think he really wants this one to hear him talk. So it'll be interesting to see how he shows up. But I got to take Rufy, and unfortunately, I think he kind of gets it done pretty big. So
you forgot to do the ad for the main card prelims.
Oh yeah, no, I did. I'm so sorry. I got all turned around. Maybe it was the chat disabling kind of threw me off. But thank you so much for that reminder. I will now we will break for the main card a little bit late, but better late than never. And we will pause to give our audio only listeners a break, and we will hear from our sponsors, and we will be right back. And we are back. Thank you all so much for hanging on. And sorry about the little break in formality there, but we did get it, and we are now back. And we are going to continue down the main card as well. It is Yasmin Lucindo at 8,500, taking on Amanda Lemos at 7,700. Line on this fight, it is Lucindo at minus 144, Lemos at plus 124. And I got to take Lucindo here. Lemos, for me, just has too much trouble with powerful grapplers, powerful wrestlers. Andrade, Verna Jandroba, Wiley Zhang, but of course that's a little bit different. But I do think the wrestling grappling combination is going to be a bit too much here. And for DFS especially, I really do kind of like this price. This kind of middling price I think is really good for wrestlers. Kind of why I like Castaneda, although I do think this is a better stylistic matchup for the wrestler. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take Lucinda here. I think she gets it done. I think she can easily put up that 88 to 92, which would be pretty good in this spot. Maybe a little bit higher upside. And again, we've seen the submission losses, so we can't count that out as well. Even though Lucinda not the heaviest of submission grapplers, but can definitely get it done here as well. But we will start with Drake. Drake, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, this is one of those fights where I think a lot of their striking prowess is going to be canceled out by Lucindo's grappling. Both of these girls can strike. There is absolutely no doubt about that. They both have pop. Lemos in particular, we've seen countless knockouts from her. That said, I honestly think that Lemos's time is kind of starting to dwindle. You can see it. As she fights, she did beat Mackenzie Dern, but she's slowing down. She's not as quick, and she's definitely not as fast on her feet. Lucindo, on the other hand, is like the complete opposite. She's still a baby. I mean, she was born in 2002. She's what, 23?
Yeah.
I mean, we could honestly be looking at a future champion as we watch her fight. She's got a complete game. She's got the grappling. She's got excellent striking. She's got quick hands. She's super smart inside the ring. I think we see Lucinda go all the way until she gets to Whaley, where she probably dies, but that's Whaley.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. I do think this is a good matchup for her, and I think that's a good point. Lemos has given us some good, nice performances, but I do think that time might be ending. But we will see how Joey feels. Joey, how you feel about this fight?
Yeah, Lucinda's still a baby, but when you think about these fighters coming up at this type of young age, you know how quickly their overall game just skyrockets, especially when they have good training partners. And one of her best training partners absolutely demolished and submitted Lemos and Werner Janaroba. That's her main training partner for wrestling, grappling. And I'm not saying Lucindo has the level of grappling, but to me, I think she has better traditional takedowns. And Lemos does get taken down, and this is one of my sneaky plops of the week. I think Lucindo plus 600 by sub.
Yeah,
hey, don't be stealing my hot takes.
He stole both of our hot takes. So
no way.
That. Yeah, hot take is canceled this week.
That's funny.
But no, I the reason why I think we all converge there is because it's a good shout just based on the matchup, and like you said, based on the training partner. That's a great note, and the fact that we've seen Lemos get submitted by these grapplers before. I don't think this is a good matchup for her at all. And like I said, I love the middling price, and glad we could all kind of converge on that before. We might get to one that we have a little disagreement on that. I'm not exactly sure, but it's another closely lined fight. Quite a few of those. It is Ignacio Bahamondes at 8,200 taking on Jalen Turner at 8,000. Line on this fight. It is Bahamondes minus 130, Jalen Turner plus 110. And I was wrong about Bahamondes in the last fight there. I took Torres. I think Torres landed one good shot early and then got carried away with himself. He was blitzing in straight lines in a way I don't think I've ever really seen him do before. And then all Bahamondes really had to do was angle off a little bit and throw a counter shot. In fact, he did it twice, so Torres didn't learn from his mistakes there, which is unfortunate. Jalen Turner is a different level of striker, I think, and he's going to be by far the quicker party here too, the faster hands. And Bahamondes does like a war, even though he did show off a little bit better, angling off in the pocket in the last fight. He will go to war too, and I think that Turner's just going to have too much advantage on the feet, and we know about the power he has as well. He hasn't been standing KO'd in quite a while. I think it's been 6 years. He's been, he got taken down and beaten up by Moicano after he unfortunately tried to walk off a KO that was not.
I lost money because of that. That's son of a.
If he swarmed, he almost certainly wins the fight right there. But what can we do except to say that hopefully Drake, well, if he's picking him, maybe gets his money back here. But we will see. Drake, are you on Jalen Turner? And if so, why?
So I did go the other way. I did go with Bahamondes. And the only reason that the biggest thing that separated this fight for me was Bahamondes' pressure forward, which Turner does not have, in my opinion, and his kicks. This fight is honestly probably the closest 50-50 fight we've had like in a while. Both of these guys could easily take each other out. Whether or not Turner gets over his lapse of judgment in the ring is also, there, because that was absolutely ridiculous. But Bahamondes has kind of surprised me over his last couple fights. I was not big on him in the slightest. The first probably 3-4 fights. And then, he lost Ludovic Klein. But his last two fights, it's almost like he just stepped it up a complete gear, and he's completely different than what he was. He's fighting with more confidence. He's fighting with more pressure. And if he continues to fight like that, we might see a lot more knockouts from him.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, we did see some wrinkles, especially in the last fight that we hadn't seen before. But I just think Turner overall is just the better striker, and the speed advantage I think is going to be pretty pronounced. That was the case of Ludovic Klein as well, and I think it's going to play here. But Joey, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, Bahamondes did also lose to my boy Ludovic Klein.
Yeah.
But I did have a conversation with Drake after the Klein fight. I was like, depending on the matchups the UFC gives Bahamondes, he could shine. Look, two knockouts in a row. And I know he just knocked out I know boy that me and Drake went against, but Manel Torres, right? And if Jalen Turner's not I do think there's a finish on either side. I think
you cut out there for a second.
Bahamondes by knockout. Oh, okay. That's weird. So I think it's either Bahamondes gets the knockout due to volume, or if Turner does rock him, I think he's extremely live for a rock type of where he gets like a submission, goes for head and arm choke. I think someone's going to get finished in this fight. Pick your side, but I think it's Bahamondes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do think it's a pick your side. I end up on the other side, but I will enjoy it, and I do think you need both sides in DFS as a result. But now then we will go to our co-main event of the evening. If I could get my mouse to work, it is Rafael Fiziev at 8,400 taking on Justin Gaethje at 7,800. Line on this fight, it is Fiziev minus 155. Gaethje coming back plus 135. And as I said in the open, this is a rematch of a fight that took place about 2 years ago. The opening rounds, maybe round and a half, it looked like Fiziev was going to run away with it. Gaethje came on late. It really looked like the pressure got to Fiziev. He started wearing down, and Gaethje took the decision. Still a close decision. I still think you can argue maybe that Fiziev might have taken it, but Gaethje certainly did enough in those later rounds. However, I'm going back to Fiziev here, and I think him being the favorite is going to get me some scarcity, which I like. I just have to side with tools in these kind of matchups, and I think Fiziev is quicker. I think he's got the better assortment of strikes. I think he can make Gaethje pay with his counter punching, and yeah, it's true that, and I won't say too much of what I know. A little bit of what Drake is going to say coming up, but we do have layoffs and what have you. And it's funny, even Fiziev at the press conference, he was joking, but he said, "Why am I the favorite? Because I lost the first one, and then now I'm coming off something." So, but I think he doesn't believe in himself enough. I think that I think he is the better fighter here. The more toolsy fighter, he's got enough power too, and I think he's going to just sort of maybe not let his foot off the gas. Maybe he upped his conditioning a little bit. I mean, we saw him get tired, of course, in the Bobby Green fight too, which led to just sort of a brutal third round for him. But as long as he worked on that conditioning just a smidge, I think he's got too much upside here to fade. So I'm taking maybe the questionable favorite. Certainly understand the dog play, of course, because it's Justin freaking Gaethje. But we will see if the explanations go a little harder than that. We'll start with Joey. Joey, how do you see the co-main event?
I still don't understand why Fiziev's a favorite. I really don't. He's coming off more of a harder layoff because he did get injured versus Gamrot. Short notice replacement. So how is his cardio really going to look depending on the pace that he decides to push? We may see a safer Gaethje. I think Gaethje might be more precise. He might try to be more calculated with his strikes. Hopefully don't try to get in a war pocket similar he did to Holloway towards the end. But what if maybe Gaethje goes back to some wrestling? Maybe Fiziev does try to throw lazy kicks. You saw how easy it was to take him down towards the end of the fight. If Gaethje really went back to his wrestling roots, I think he could dominate him. But do I think he's going to go back to his wrestling roots, really? Probably not. But I think Gaethje's straight boxing could be an issue, especially after maybe the first half of the fight. After over a 1.5, I think that's where Gaethje goes pick up round 2 and maybe our volumes around 3. My pick swapped like 3 times on this fight, but I'm actually going Gaethje with the value. I think Gaethje's going to get him to a decision.
Yeah, and the value play makes sense. I think a lot of people are thinking that way too. I just, again, I think the more skillful fighter is Fiziev, and I got to go with who I think the more skillful fighter is. I know that Gaethje has, in time, worked on his defense, but the Holloway fight. I mean, we saw Max be more of an outfighter than he typically has been, and I think Fiziev can do that a little bit more too. I mean, you make a good point about the cardio. I think my main thing here is it's not going to take that much of an adjustment for Fiziev to get to where he needs to be in relation to the last fight. But we will see what Drake thinks about that. Drake, how do you see the co-main event?
Honestly, I think if it was flipped, I might have gone Fiziev in this fight. But I'm just going to read this straight off my article because this is where all my concerns come from. I basically, I just said Fiziev is coming in off an injury. That injury was a torn ACL. He will undoubtedly experience some rust or hesitation. Gaethje has developed a new measured level of striking. Not necessarily against Holloway. I mean, he did have it, but when you're striking against Holloway, you're kind of forced to do a lot of things you're not used to. But if you go back and watch his fight with Dustin Poirier, that was extremely different than how he had been fighting. And if he approaches this fight the same exact way, I don't think Fiziev is going to be able to get in enough to win this fight. And it's a really curious thing that Fiziev is the favorite when he's coming in short notice and off of an ACL tear. So, I mean, I'm not really sure what or how those came to be, but Gaethje should definitely be the favorite here.
Yeah, and I don't, you can make an argument there too. It might just be that the last fight was so close, and a lot of people thought Fiziev won it, so that could be an issue there. But it is a decent point. Again, it's just skills for me. If either one of these guys does make the adjustment, if Gaethje does fight a little smarter, definitely head kicks a la Dustin Poirier is not something we see from him typically. So if he makes adjustments like that, definitely could be interesting. But I'll go Fiziev, but it's definitely a quality co-main, and I can't wait to see it. But now we will go to another fight that is interesting and one that we may have saved the best for last, maybe the most contentious for last, but we will see. It is the light heavyweight champion, Alex Pereira, at 8,300, taking on Magomed Ankalaev at 7,900. The line for the main event, minus 115, Alex Pereira, minus 105, Magomed Ankalaev. That's basically where it stays. You can see minus 125, Pereira, minus 100, Ankalaev, but generally in that range. And, this is my pick is a little obvious if you know my work, because I wrote an article about who the champions were going to be at the end of 2025, at the end of December, and I picked Magomed Ankalaev to be champion at some pretty juicy dog odds that I think you can still get those exact odds, or at least you could a couple days ago. It was plus 195. How's he going to handle the wrestling? I just don't know. He's scraped by Jan Blachowicz, who took him down really pretty easily in that fight. And Blachowicz has never been a committed wrestler. And you can say that Ankalaev hasn't been either, except when Ankalaev fought Blachowicz and he needed to wrestle, boy, did he wrestle. And I was talking before we came on air here, and when a Russian guy knows he has to wrestle, he's going to wrestle. All these guys do sambo, and we had looked no further than Gan versus Volkov, where it was entirely a wrestling offense from Volkov, almost entirely. and he got robbed. That's neither here nor there. But when these guys know they need to wrestle, they will wrestle. And yes, he's got nuclear power in his hands, but I can't rely on him just touching Ankalaev and Ankalaev going to sleep. Ankalaev, of course, has never been knocked out, never lost, except for the fluke sub against Paul Craig. And I really hope that that's going to be his only loss in his pro career, only because it's so funny for that to be the only one. Like, if that's just a footnote, like, let's say he becomes the best light heavyweight of all time, and the footnote is just buzzer beater sub Paul Craig, and everybody's going to have to look up who Paul Craig is at that point. So that's just really funny to me. But I just think can he chin him? Of course, but you take into account a guy that we've never seen chinned, or I mean, okay, we have seen him hurt. We saw Thiago Santos hurt him a little bit. But look, Thiago Santos, even when he was limping around late in his UFC career, still pretty explosive with his hands. So I mean that's one thing. Yeah, it could happen. I can't bank on it. I can't bank on a one shot turning him off. Not before Ankalaev gets it to the ground. So my pick has got to be Magomed Ankalaev and New. And I believe we start with Drake on this one, who has been grinning knowingly the whole time I was talking. So Drake, how you feel about this one?
Yeah, you can't take down a guy if you're sleeping. So,
yeah.
I got Pereira by knockout in the first 2 rounds. Good night, goodbye, and still.
If it gets, you say first 2 rounds, I think it's pretty optimistic to think that if it gets to the second round, he wouldn't have been on the floor quite a bit. And I know that Ankalaev doesn't have a submission win, which is bizarre, but no time like the present. I mean, I would think he is the much better submission grappler than, especially like if you've never done it in the cage. We've seen guys flail around on the bottom in there. This is just going to be so different than being in the snow with Glover. I just don't see it. Like, if you bet the knockout, that's fine. You better hope it happens early, in my opinion. But
I think he struggles to get him down.
Huh?
I think that he struggles to get him down.
Yes. Oh, you did say that, but that's not based on anything. What's that based on?
6 months of training for him.
Yes, but different. Okay, but different in the cage with a real opponent. But okay, fair enough. We will see how it works out. Joey, how do you feel about the main event?
So before I get that prediction, this is one of my worst takes. And I did this because this guy was one of my favorite fighters, and Drake did not let me live this down for the part of me for ages. I picked Thiago Santos to beat John Jones. And yeah, let's say I never heard the end of that. Not for a while, I have it now, but it was brutal. But one thing I also tend to do a lot, I pick against Pereira. I've done it in maybe his last 2-3 fights, and I also bold predicted saying that Jamal Hill was going to knock him out. That's another one I won't ever get to able to live down.
I'm just going to throw out, after UFC 300 is when Pereira got his black belt in BJJ. He's not a bum on the mat. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody is about to be surprised.
It's different when the lights go on.
Yeah.
Different when the lights go on.
You can say the same thing about Ankalaev. He hasn't wrestled in 5 fights.
Yeah, but these guys, it's in the DNA.
It's in the OV. It's in the OV or EV or EVOV. You have the V on the end of your name. You have some sort of wrestling you were born with. Yeah. But I had this theory. Do you guys want to see John Jones in Aspinall?
Of course. Yeah.
I want to see John
Jones.
I'll
say this right now. If Ferreira gets the knockout within the first 2 rounds, my money is Dana's like, I want the super fight of John Jones and Ferreira. I'm telling you, if John Jones is at the fight, Ferreira wins in the first 2 rounds, Dana's going to announce at like International Fight Week, he's going to try to do Jones versus Ferreira. That means we get no Aspinall fight. So I'm hoping that Ankalaev get this win. But that's for maybe not for the whole method. But honestly, I think Ankalaev is a low-key good striker too. Not better than Ferreira, but I think he has his own success with he does throw good kicks. And I think he does need to wrestle. The sports books have his over-under on takedowns at 1.5. They're expecting him to wrestle.
Not John Jones. Dana came out yesterday or 2 days ago and said that the plan was to have Aspinall and John Jones fight in the summer. So,
but I'm telling you, if Pereira wants that fight, Dana's gonna be like, I see dollar signs. He might do it, and then that screws Aspinall. But
I'd be fine with that too because I think Pereira knocks him out as well.
damn. But yeah, I'm actually on Ankalaev this fight. I always find a way to pick against Pereira, and then Drake always tells me like rather to fight. I keep trying to tell you, do not pick against him. I'm going back picking against him again. I'm gonna get a long paragraph more than likely if Pereira does get it done. But I think Ankalaev with his time takedowns control. You saw Pereira on his back against Blachowicz. He was like, "What the hell am I supposed to do?" Yeah, has he probably improved since then? Yeah, I can guarantee he has. But if you get a stronger guy, I think like if he was born with some sort of wrestling in his DNA, no matter how good it is, he's gonna get him down if he decides to. Will he decide to? I don't know. But if he does, he can have more success in this fight. I'm going Ankalaev and new.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point about the striking. I would point to specifically his striking defense. I wrote it up. It's like less than 2.5 strikes absorbed per minute. And he's had a lot of fights now, and so the striking defense is very good.
But he took the same amount of strikes as he gave against Rakic. I mean,
yeah, but Rakic is still a really good striker,
and Pereira is a better striker than him.
No, I understand, but it's just the idea that like he's just gonna get touched and go to sleep. It's just hard. It's just hard to see it, you know. But I will certainly get in all caps. I told you. In the chat if that does happen. I'm prepared for it, but you know, I can't. I have trouble picking a one-shot knockout as like this is what's going to happen. So I'm going to go with the methodology of wrestling and game plan, and we will see if it blows up in my face. But that is it for the fight card of UFC 313. But before we go away, we are going to do some hot takes. And if you are new to the show, hot takes is where we find lines or parlays of things that we feel have a little bit too much juice and are more likely to come in than the sports book believes that it is. So if you have some in the chat, put them in there. We're going to go first with hot takes. And boys, any hot takes for me?
Do you want our shared one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think all of us agreed on Lucindo by submission, which is what, plus 800, 600?
Yeah, I got plus 6.
Yeah, I mean it was shared, but I think if it's that big, I think we're going to take it anyway. I mean, I'm surprised to see it that big. I know that, as we talked about, Lucindo doesn't really have the grappling acumen in terms of submissions, but still really surprised to see it. So is that it? Or just the shared one, or
I got a 4-pick parlay that I really like. It's just Joshua Van Ferreira, Lucindo, and Blades. It's about plus 700. It's 4 fights I'm really confident in.
All right, cool. Yeah, no, that's so Lucindo, Pereira, Blades, and who else? Who's the last one?
Lucindo, Bruno Ferreira, Joshua Van.
Oh, Ferreira. Okay, there you go. Got it. Yeah, no, I like that too. Definitely. I've been vamping here a little bit because I'm looking for my play. Because I didn't have one, but now I feel like I have.
Just saying, you can get Alex Pereira by sub for like plus 2,200.
Well, I'm looking for a play that I cannot find, but maybe you can help me. What is Ankalaev by sub?
Oh, plus 800.
Okay, that's my hot take. Yeah. So I think if he gets him down, he's certainly the better submission grappler. I think we can probably agree with that, even though he doesn't have a submission. And no time like the present for the first one. So if there's any hot takes in chat, let us know. Write it down. We will put it up on screen. Talk about it. Going once, going twice.
I do got one for you.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Of course, we named it Lucendo by sub. This is another take to where I think if this fighter and Bruno Ferreira go for a takedown, you are a black belt in judo, you are a black belt in BJJ. You could submit this dude. That's plus 800 if you play it straight. But I actually did a parlay at 62-1 with Bruno Ferreira by sub, Lucendo by sub.
There you go. So just the big numbers flying all over the place on this installment of Hot Takes. And I think if any of those come in, you'll be pretty happy, but especially Joey's parlay. You might have to send him a percentage if that one comes, because that's just too big.
$5 wins you $3.15.
Yeah. That's a decent little ROI for the
that's
value.
like one trip to the grocery store now.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
But all right, so that is going to do it for the UFC 313 Fight IQ podcast. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Of course, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on the channel. Helps out a lot. Catch us all on Twitter. I know that we will be in each other's DMs causing all kinds of havoc on fight night. And we are usually around on Twitter posting messages and going with the fights as well. But until then, we are going to sign off now and say good luck in your contest. Joey, thank you as always for hanging out and filling in on some short notice here. Expect to have Joe back on the next one. But if not, of course, you are always welcome again, sir. But thank you all so much. Again, good luck in your contest, and we will see you for the next pay-per-view.